Hello, everybody. Hope you all are back to your screens. And we are now moving forward to another interesting session, which is by our Gurugram chapter. It is going to be a panel discussion, and here we are going to talk about how HR role changed post pandemic. We have seen different changes happening in the last 1.5 years, and a lot many changes happen in how we function in different domains and different roles, and let's explore how HR's role has changed. And in this we feature Vaneet Ahuja, who is going to moderate this panel. We have Jamal Ahmed, Jayanti Jagannath, Ayush Goenka, who will be the part of this panel discussion. And before we move forward, I would like to thank our founding sponsor, Innovation Roots, which is a leading consulting and training service provider, helping organizations to achieve business agility and beyond. It is one of the leaders and pioneers of niche publishing services and well known for content collaboration with global thought leaders, authors, and creators. You can find out more information at www.innovationroots.com. I would also like to thank our sponsor, Gile, which is a product offering from Tata Consultancy Services Limited. It is a purely cloud based enterprise agile planning tool along with DevOps capabilities. Enterprises can use Gile to adopt agile practices or scale across multiple Scrum and Kanban teams using enterprise scaling frameworks such as SAFe, Disciplined Agile, Less, and more. You can try out Gile for free up to 20 users for 30 days by signing up at gile.io, or you can reach out to us for any inquiries or set up an exclusive product demo. Simple do's and don'ts for our participants to follow. Please join every event 5 minutes prior to the start time. I recommend to use high quality speakers or headphones for better sound quality. Kindly keep your microphones muted and videos disabled, as this may cause disturbance and bandwidth issue. You can ask your questions to the panel in the chat box, and at the end of the session, the moderator will read out the questions and get them answered by the panelists. At the end of the event, we will share a feedback form. Please spare some minutes to fill in the details into the feedback form and give us inputs around how we can improve in future events. And thank you so much. With that, I would like to call upon Vaneet to take it over from here. So over to you, Vaneet.
Thanks, Nupur. Hi, everyone. I'll say welcome to the post-pandemic world. I would say that pandemic was not easy for any one of us, right? So, but as you all know, that there isn't any of the business function which was not impacted by the pandemic-induced changes that the company has to force to make it operational, right? And but I would say that human resources is one of the function which has faced this dramatic shift in purpose and all the processes so far. So that brings us to our topic today, that how has HR role changed post pandemic. Myself, Vanessa, I'm a senior manager of videography, and I will be a moderator for today's panel discussion. We have, let me just welcome our esteemed panelists. We have Ayush Goenka. Ayush, can tell us about yourself.
Hey, a very good afternoon, everyone. I am Ayush Goenka. I'm joining here from Sreejan Technologies. I'm relatively new to the field and have over 2 years of experience around L&D performance management and day-to-day operations. I have been working closely on introducing people-centric initiatives, and I look further to building strategy and leadership for the organizations that I collaborate with.
Thank you, Ayush. Then we have Jayanti with us. Hi, Jayanti. Welcome.
Hi, thanks, Vanita, and Thanks for this very nice platform, which helps, which enables a lot of knowledge sharing. So, of course, I'm Jayanti, and I anchor HR advisory firm by name People's End. I've been with various organizations, Deloitte, Pfizer, Amarchand, and I'm a leadership coach. And I help organizations, build their talent agenda, and help them in their digitalization journey. So happy to be here, and look forward to lots of knowledge sharing.
Thank you, Jayanti. Yeah. So, as we see, like Jamal is HR leader with over 12 years of experience in travel, startups, and other high growth companies. And he's also having, very extensive experience in leading organizations and, term teams through their growth and the changes. He has a good, diverse background on different startups, travel, e-com companies across the globe, and he has passion about exploring different cultures, aspire to become a strategic HR leader in global workspace. And he has a board HR and talent strategy experience as an HR business partner and a CEO leader, COE leader, sorry. So the first question which I could think of is, as we go back to our 2 years back, how this has all started. So I would just like our panelists to just help us to recall what was their first reaction when they heard of the whole country going under the lockdown. What was their reaction? Jayanti, you can share. Can you share your experience on this?
Oh yes, Vanita, I think everybody's got some experience or other, and
Yeah.
probably of in different variation. So of course, the moment the lockdown was announced, and of course, apart from that, there were a lot of things happening. But this was the first confirmation of that's things are really not normal. So. So one of the things, of course, which we experience is that being a service provider, and also we've been helping some of our clients in building up their HR structure and things like that. So one of the main thing which actually came in is, what are we going to be doing with the employees who have been coming to office, and what is going to happen for people in the manufacturing sector, especially the ones who are in the IT. It was actually not, I wouldn't say it wasn't a big change, but certainly the change was smooth because they just had to, sort of get acquainted with the um, work from home option. One of the things which straight away hit us is in-person interaction, which is especially the all the HR programs, all the trainings, and all of that. So that was one of the first thing which came in. Everything came to a standstill, and work as such. Everybody had to start looking at how people are going to be coming to work. I mean, coming to office and things like that. So. If you were to ask me, there were so many things which happened. We looked at moving to virtual at once. All of us started looking at how do we do training programs and workshops virtually, and start to sort of experiment with various online tools. And another part for I would say, as far as HR part of is concerned, it was about suddenly looking at tracing all employees, where do they live, what happens, where are they coming from, which zone, red zone, orange zone, and all of that. So so trying to do a lot of data collection. So I would say the first reaction, of course, was of, oh, what are we going to be doing, and attending so many of those webinars which started coming to to understand how are we going to, because everybody was grappling with how we are going to be going ahead and doing things. A lot of discussions, and a lot of action plans coming in. So I would say, to make it very brief, these are the various things in this order that the whole thing came across, as far as my experience is concerned. But yes, we actually, there was a lot of stock taking which happened, lot of stock taking, because a lot of things, see, especially some of the clients who had to work during the lockdown, they really did, because they were essential services. So they had to work overnight in ensuring getting the data in place, who's coming from where, and how are they going to be coming in, and how are they going to be working in, especially the ones who are making the essential equipments for the current pandemic environment. So they had to be coming. There was no thing about it. And health was another thing which suddenly came up. But I wouldn't say that was the first thing. First thing was about a lot of discussions, looking at how we're going to be. Some people who are very smart on foreseeing what's going to be coming ahead were already doing a lot of their work. I mean, they already started working out things two couple of months ahead when they had started seeing what's happening in the rest of the world. you know so there are one set of people who are already doing a little bit of pre-work. There were other people who were so busy that they couldn't do any pre-work, and they were suddenly hit with all this new environment. So I would say, just to make it very brief, this is how our first set of response which actually came in.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, it has hit us very with a surprise with this thing, lockdown. Jamal, I hope you can add some more things to it. If
Yeah, so I think the first thing that we all faced was when the lockdown was announced. What it was, we all were in shock. But it was a first time ever people have with my age group, probably first time ever this kind of pandemic has struck, wherein you find that the government has suddenly put everything on hold, and there was a complete lockdown. But apart from the panic, I think we, as a community, as an HR community, acted very smartly in gathering ourselves and then saying what is the need of the hour. So, and thanks to the technology and the HR grasping the technology side of things, that we quickly, reinforced ourselves, started work from, build up a task force that can work and deliver from home. There were certain glitches initially, definitely, that people were facing, in terms of, like, one we faced, you can't hear people, you sometimes have disturbance from a work from home environment. But then I think it worked fine with the task force getting into place. And now, after say 1.5, 2 years, when things have started opening up, it's a opportunity for people, for HR, to get into a space wherein they have helped companies grow during this pandemic, especially like Jayanti said, on the tech side, on the development side. There were certain challenges definitely on the manufacturing side and on the uh, product side, wherein you have a customer facing role. But then this, on the contrary, I think it also brought in certain opportunities wherein organizations realized that they can pretty much work on a cost effective model on certain things and can deliver more productivity out of the existing team. So yeah, so initially it was a shock, but then I think we have started living up to it with the kind of technology help and the HR acquainted tech side. So yeah.
yeah, right. That's too right that we have learned to with the help of technology to live with this and to be operational. We have a question from RC Goel on the same topic that, in 60s, MGF companies were having conflicts with provisions of residential colony. Lockdown situation affected minimal to such companies. Do you think such things are possible in current scenarios? And China has such, environment as standard practice. How you guys think that how this situation will affect such companies? Janti, you like to?
Yeah, see, I'm just trying to understand, in 60s manufacturing companies. we're having, okay, are you saying 1960s? Um, I'm just trying to understand the question. I mean, if you can help me understand this, Vaneet. Uh, okay, lockdowns affect minimal to such companies. Okay, so fine. So what I understand is that maybe such kind of a lockdown situation, etc., really did not affect the manufacturing companies, and and it's a very normal thing. So if lockdown happens, work keeps going on. Um, do we understand that in India also, are we going to get acquainted with a similar kind of a thing, that life will move as business as usual, or work will go business as usual even if lockdown happens? So that's what I understand from this question. So I think, see, we have really, especially when you look at the digitalization process, um, um, we have the future of work that we were talking about. We kept talking about future of work, fourth industrial revolution and things like that. Now that has come in those 3 months. I mean, the short 3 months or 6 months. It's happened so rapidly, and now the kind of flexibility which we have of working with remote work, or work going, seamlessly, is much better. I mean, we were forced in such a situation. So I would say that I don't know how much we are insulated from future ones, but now organizations and the industry is actually looking at not only what to handle, or to handle things better with what happened or what we are undergoing, but also to sort of insulate ourselves from all the future similar kind of things which may come up. So companies are now really thinking futuristically, that we should be sort of similar kind of situation should not affect us in future. Maybe this was pandemic, tomorrow it could be anything else, any natural calamity, and it could be global because this was global. uh, so I think now we are in much better shape, that we are able to handle, we could possibly handle, I mean, god forbid something like this happens, that we could be able to have work going on seamlessly, even if some certain things like this happen. So I think, if you're talking about China, but here I think we sort of much in a better of a space. HR has done a wonderful work, organizations have done a wonderful work, and there's been a paradigm shift in the way things are being looked at. So yes, I would say yes.
And
Yeah.
Vanita, I will just like to add on to it, like like Jayanti said, I think India was in a much better situation and has handled things better than China when you talk about digitalization and working, because now I think organizations have a clear cut demarcation on where and how can, and especially with the help of HR, where and how can they put and utilize the cost to groom employees to make them more kind of productive. And if there is a clear cut demarcation of getting the results from a work from home environment as well. So like if something if a third wave, god forbid, if a third wave or something, another pandemic comes also, I think we are pretty much ready that we can deliver 120% what we were delivering from our offices in the with the help of digitalization, and HR being more of a tech specific HR now, or I can say handy on the technology front.
I agree that we are this are now more prepared, uh, and everything which comes to our way, we will not hamper the work that is going on and impacting livelihoods of anyone. So, coming to the next point, which probably comes to everyone's mind, that HR has always been the first point of contact for the employees whenever they need any help or there is any distress situation. So, Ayush, what if you can share your such story incident where during the pandemic that has an impact, and you can share with us.
I think all of us, including the management, the HR team, and employees, we were all clueless about what to do as and when lockdown hit. We all started it with thinking it might be a week or two thing that we'll have to do to curb the spread. But through the experience of transitioning into a lockdown situation in a work from home remote organization, the ranges of problems again were totally unique, as was the problem. Basic problems as in the internet support, the infrastructure, the electricity, and such things were the new problems that we were facing as opposed to what we were used to before the pandemic hit. And during these situations, the response time, the way we reward, the way we act upon those problems, the time frame was the most critical one. For example, when the COVID situation hit, we were all just sent into a work from home mode. We were not expecting it to get prolonged for so much. So I think we started with a 2 week situation back in March 2020, and I think it's close to 2 years now that we are all working in a remote organization. So again, the way the management responded to the entire situation, ensuring that in case there was a new problem, there was a new solution that we were aiming towards, providing enough infrastructure support for those who are venturing into a work from home situation for the first time. Being the first point of contact was again critical for HR team. Beyond the day-to-day problems, there were new emotional well-being that came on forefront, because while working from home, the difference and the differentiating factor between personal and professional thinned even further. So we really had to make sure that we were the first point of contact and accept the vulnerabilities, that we might not be the best people out there in providing emotional support. So the utilization of EAP structures, employee assistance program structures, to provide counseling support, to the second wave, wherein we were a bit more relaxed in terms of the way we were responding. So in terms of the second wave also, we had to act in a way wherein we started getting more number of cases as opposed to the first one. So and such was the response, the communication that we were getting, that employee ABC from this particular zone or locality is going through some problems. So we had to take steps in ensuring that, although the government is doing their best, the bodies are doing their best to provide support, it's on us also to ensure that we are there as the first point of support for our employees. So we had to go back and establish COVID-19 committees internally, wherein we have to ensure that we could get as many people in terms of the leading the committee, and again crowdsourcing the solution for any problem faced by any of the employees. And all of this, during the entire transition, one thing was for sure, that to be proactive is to be the priority now. It's not that we can wait for employees to raise problems. It's rather, in a way, we have to reach out to them. We have to understand and predict if there might be any situation that they need support in. So establishing a cyclic pulse check to proactively reach out to employees and understand how's their work going. If it's nothing, it's a good touch base that employees feel towards the end of the conversation, that someone is proactively reaching out to them, wherein the social contact, the social human beings, the social animal, where we're in a situation where that socializing factor has been diluted to just 3-4 people around you. It was again being more proactive to ensuring that we are supporting their social needs.
Yeah, that's very correct, Ayush. And I myself have seen many of the organization where HRs has created the committees during the second wave and helped their employees and during that bad crisis situation. Yeah, and we have to be future ready now with proactive approach. That's the good point to make. And I think similar to what we've just discussed, I think pandemic has an impact on health of everybody, right? And employees are more volatile. What as an organization should do to maintain the mental health of an employee? That's what we can ask.
Again, starting with addressing that there is that mental health is as fragile as your body, as easy it is to catch a fever. You can be struggling with mental health issues, getting the conversation started, establishing who are the experts out there in the field. So we have a number of organizations that help you in ensuring that you can establish a structure within. So a getting the conversation started, establishing why it is important to talk about mental health, and then helping them with the point of contacts. These are the various platforms or mediums wherein you can reach out to seek support. And again, training in terms of your getting your managers and your supervisors trained apart from their technical know-how to being a emotional support, not the solution providers, but a support system in itself. Okay, they should be able to grasp when an employee or so they are not able to emotionally present themselves, or there is some resentment from their end. So being those representatives, having those representatives is equally important to get the conversation started.
Right, right. Jamal, you would like to add anything onto that?
So, I think on the mental health of an employee, it was very the first thing and the foremost job of an HR committee was to understand that what exactly is the current employee going through. You can put pressure on any employee in the organization, and you will have definitely a pressure of results when the pandemic hit us. But there were cases wherein you had 20% of the employees who were not able to actually concentrate on the deliveries because of the family member suffering and or probably being hospitalized or in need of oxygen. So and as a manager or as a lead of that employee, I think the first duty of an HR community was to train the leads and the managers and the leaders to actually if you get something, if you get an employee from our side into a comfort zone, he can definitely deliver irrespective of 120% on his capacity. But you pushing an employee with his mental health going towards his family and people suffering from COVID in his neighborhood, or he suffering from COVID, and then you still don't want to uh, you still want to put pressure on the employee on delivery, was something that we actually taught the clients and the leaders to first understand the mental health of an employee. And once this thing gets calmed down, and probably you can help him, support him, guide him during this tenure, make him comfortable that the organization, the lead is with him, his family, his relatives. And once he gets into a comfortable zone, I think he is all set to be yours. And this was one few, I can quote n number of examples wherein organizations have retained employees irrespective of fancy offers that they have got in the market now, with employees saying that no, the kind of work culture and the support that I have got in this pandemic from my organization, I'm not going to leave in this organization.
Right, right. Um, but yeah, I agree with that. And probably now we have to think through post-pandemic situations also, right? As we all know that people have become comfortable and now they have adjusted themselves in the new lifestyle of working from home. So as an HR, are you guys think that we are facing any difficulty, in bringing the people back from home working to the office, and what are the strategies like we should follow for the
Maneet, I think as an employer, everybody is just concerned about a final outcome, a final revenue, a final number, a final delivery, whether it is from home or it is from office. I think the
Hmm.
employers have a smart choice to make, right? So, for example, if I have 50 employees in my organization, and suddenly I feel that they from an HR community, I feel that they have given their 100% during this pandemic to organize probably more than 100% to give me revenue, to give me business, to give me delivery. Why in that scenario will I push that employee to come to office and work? I am saving on my infrastructure cost. I So organizations have hugely saved on their travel cost. People with on an account manager sales role would be traveling to different parts of the globe, US, UK, Canada, and the organization spending hefty money. But I think with the digitalization, with Skype, with Zoom, with other security measures coming in, I think they have found out a way where they are saving cost, and I think 50-60% of the organizations are seeing that the employees and the productivity of employees from a work from home environment has increased. Yes, there has been certain industries specific that needs employees in office environment, and in those cases, I think employees are also cooperating to now come to office because they know that their job cannot be done from home. So you can see the offices slowly and gradually opening up, people coming to the office, working for some time. So it's a kind of now a hybrid model that organizations have moved on. So if you feel that you can deliver from work from home, you deliver it from work from home. But what matters at the end of the day is result. If you feel that your thing is not you are not coping up on the delivery and you need to come to office, then the employee, and I think 60-70% of the employees themselves are wishing to come to the office now and work.
Okay, that's a good point. That yeah, with this lockdown and being at home with long time, we had employees are wishing to come to office. Jayanti, you would like to add something onto this? IBC now even the IT firms are getting opened. With We have seen that these were the first ones who cannot have this, digital. They can work remotely, but still they have started opening the offices. So
Right,
what's
right. Yeah, yeah. So I'll tell you the way the curve has actually gone in is that first everybody was very excited about, we can actually work from home and things like that. So all digitalization was happening and all of that, but the kind of feedback that we are seeing in various, respects are that still, you're happy that you're able to work from home, work is being done, etc. But when you're talking about certain sectors, certain aspects, like one is of course when you're talking of grooming or coaching or wanting to develop the newcomers, or when you want to actually get people to the next level and things like that, there probably it may be a little compromise if it is fully remote. So, and that's one of the reasons why, one of the reasons, there are a lot many other reasons too, where there's been this thought that it's best that people need to come in for in person. They need to be available in person. Apart from the fact that you need to be there for meetings and all that, that's a separate thing. But especially for people development and all of that, proximity, in-person proximity seems to be important. And also they felt that and that's the reason why it's still a tussle, that whether we still remain as a total remote or we look at a hybrid, because a lot of the companies are looking at hybrid. But still, if you look at a lot of IT organizations, they talked about going remote fully, and then now they're actually getting people back. So one of the things which has been actually experienced based on what has been seen is that a lot of the optimization of things may not be so much there if it is remote or hybrid. And that's one of the reasons why probably organizations are trying to open up and getting people back. And there itself, I would like to say there are different kind of people who are actually what do you say, looking at, sorry, I think there's some connection issue. So there are those extroverts and the introverts. So extroverts are typically people who are missing office, and they are really not at their best while they're working remote or even hybrid or whatever. And the introverts are the ones who are really having a great gala time, because there are four kinds of people there itself, as how a little research has actually shown, that the introverts are people who are able to do their best while they're working remote. So it depends on the kind of people that for whom what works.
Yeah, I think that's correct. But Jamal, as you spoke, right, the work needs to be done, and at the end, works needs to happen. So the question which Priyank also put in onto the chat, that how do you handle the non-performing employees or in remote and work from home setups?
So, Maneet, I think organizations have moved into a 60 40 kind of model, wherein
Hmm.
the 40 has been now split up into again a 2020 segment.
Hmm.
So the top 20% is a high performing and high potential employees that every organization needs to identify and retain them at any cost. So and then the next 20% is the workforce that has been doing good for them, and have been performing except okay or on an average level, and the deliveries were not impacted by their work. So they have been doing 100% of their work. The top 20% is definitely doing 120-140% of the work. Definitely any organization cannot retain 100% of their employees. So you need to have a clear demarcation of those 40% and those 60%, or probably in that 60%, the last 20%. You need to make them realize that this is an environment where you need to perform and be productive in case you want to sustain in this industry, because this is the way specifically IT industry and other segments wherein the work from home can be an option is moving towards. What they want is result. You do it from work from home, or you come to office and deliver, we don't care, but the work needs to be done. So I think the essential idea is to retain the top 20% at any cost, and then uh, you know do reward and recognition for them. That entire organization should get influence to reach to the top 20%. That has been a successful model for maximum organization. And then the rest 20%, you also need to take care of them. But if 50% of the team is not performing,
Hmm.
you need to devise a strategy, training programs, or probably connect with them, understand the psychology, why are they not performing if they were performing earlier. But if they were not performing earlier and they are still not performing now, then there is a clear cut mandate for you to probably let them go or put them on a PIP, and then still uh, take things from there. But the 50% of the organization, you need to create an atmosphere or environment in the organization that the rest 50% should always aim to come to the top 50% of the organization and get those rewards and recognition that those employees are getting.
Yeah, but as we said, right, the work the organizations are moving towards hybrid model, right? As Jayanti also mentioned that out. So how you decide which employees to come, and what all, is it the same factor, Jamal, which you just mentioned, that of employees 50% who are performing, we don't need to call them. The ones which are not performing, we should call them. How you decide?
No, no, no.
Hmm,
So, Vaneet, it does not matter in terms of, for me, it doesn't. So, from my point of view, it doesn't mean that non-performing employees, you have to call them to office to make them perform, and
hmm,
best performing employees, you can still give them a leverage to work from home. Because when I say hybrid model, it does not categorize. I did not categorize into, or I did not, split it into performing and non-performing employees. There have to be performing employees in the office, and there has to be the other non-performing employees in the office, that they see how the performing employee is working and getting his job done. And you have to attach a certain group of people who are non-performing or are lacking on deliveries to people who are performing, and make them try to push them towards those who are, a good leader can definitely make 50 of percent of the organization, which is 50% of the team which is not performing, understand the problem, the psychology that they're going through, and make them perform. So it is not, so hybrid model is not split up into that you call all the non-performing employees to the office and they start performing, because then if you call all the non-performing employees to the office, you're creating an office atmosphere that is completely non-performing then. So you
Yeah,
have to keep again the 20% of the population in office who inspire the non-performing employees that this is the way to work and get into the reward and recognition and into the eyes of the organization, that you can grow on a good career path.
right. Ayush, you would like to add something?
Yeah, and again, just to add up around the individuals who are not able to give their best during such situations, it's equally important to have that those, the one we are seeing as the performance leaders or the one who are giving their best, to couple them along in an approach wherein we can devise plans for them individually, so that we can have regular checkpoints with them, regular assessment point from with them, wherein they collaborate and understand what is the progress going on, where are they going right, and absolutely where they are going in complete wrong direction as well, and to pivot back in the direction in the desired direction. So having, instead of having a generic plan for all the non-performing ones, it's really important to understand, is it the will gap wherein they are not able to perform because they are not motivated enough, or is it the skill gap, and accordingly devise a plan. If, let's say, if there's a will, if there's some personal issue that they're facing, so we should be open enough to give help them with a sabbatical or a time off, wherein they can go back, work on and get on an optimum level with their issues apart from work, and then dive back into work. If it's a skill gap, and then accordingly we'll have to devise a plan, a 3 month or a 6 month plan, wherein we give them stretch goals and communicate the expectations and the outcomes that we would want to achieve by the end of it.
Yeah, right, right. So yeah, that's the whole point, to make it comfortable for everyone and then also help them to perform also. So the question which I now see from Karan is that, how as an HR you foresee the future work models. Will be remote, office, hybrid, and will it be easy to go 100% remote? That's the question we have from Karan. Jayanti,
Yeah, so in between, I wasn't able to hear, but probably the question has been about how's the future model going to be. I also want to sort of add on, as I was hearing about the performance management and how things are. See, one of the things which I'm seeing as a very strong, strong, events which are happening is a lot of organizations, especially because the need of remote working and hybrid, they are getting their performance management systems online. See, if you look at, there are a lot of companies who are traditional companies and who have always done things, in person, and they've really not gone for digitalization of HR. So there's been a sudden, rise in demand for digitalization of their performance management, because what's happening is that there's a lot of need for keeping a track of something called OKRs. OKRs, all of us would know, which is objective key results. So one of the most effective way of tracking performance has been on ongoing basis, and I think this is the trend which is going to go up as far as people management or people development is concerned, because you can't be waiting for 3 months or whatever kind of a time period for getting people's assessments done. So there's a continuous assessment. Maybe it could be a monthly connect, or there could be at the end of a project, the project or assignment could be, say, 2 weeks long or whatever. So tracking of OKRs has been one of the pivotal things which has happened as far as people management is concerned and performance management is concerned, because basis that, I mean, wherever you are, whether you're low performer, whether you're a high performer, whether you're in person, whether you're remote, this one actually takes care of how you're doing and what you're doing. So
right,
also your manager connect, everything happens through this. So that is something which there's been a rising need, and I think it's going to just go up. So so as far as the question about the future trends, I think one of the most important thing which is really coming up is that uh, HR's role. HR's role is so you have a lot of digitalization already happening, and more organizations now they're going for digitalization,
Mm-hmm.
especially the, as I said, there's a lot of traditional ones. You suddenly find they are scouting for very professional HR people, and they actually want a lot of their processes to be managed well. So there's a sudden rise in these kind of happenings, which actually shows how strategic the HR role is going to be. So because for all the transactional thing, you have the digitalization happening and all of that. And second part, which is happening is, I mean, as a future thing is, there's a lot of focus, especially the social security of employees, the social
Right.
aspect and the security aspect of employees will be, I mean, the organization will be a large custodian of that.
I think there's a network connection again with Jayanti, but I think we are also almost on time. There is one last question which is important. Came in from on the chat, and I was also having that in my mind to ask the panels. Is the market is volatile right now. We see there is a recruitment madness going on, and how uh, the people are doing kind of window shopping with multiple offers, and right now the lot of organizations are struggling with retention things, and uh, all this hopping going on. So what do you guys think onto this topic? And I think we have two questions onto related to this thing coming into chat, and I also myself was having the same question for you guys.
I think it started with a bubble that started growing, and
Hmm.
now and being into consulting specifically, that we do hiring for 80% of our hiring are mid to senior level into tech, and then 20% into sales and operations uh, role, all mid to senior. And I think who has faced more pain than us, with facing candidates who have multiple offers, and then even to a scenario that people have started filling up formalities of joining in one organization, and they stop those paperwork and say, I have got another offer, so I'm going
Hmm.
there, so I'm not joining that organization. But I think it was again a complete bubble that has formed in the industry, and industry is moving towards a standardization. And thanks, I think, now to the HR community, that they have completely influenced the organizations that stop this hasty, offer window shopping thing by actually not. So I think 90%, or if not 90%, 70% of the organizations have now moved into a scenario wherein they say, if you have an offer, we will give you the same offer. You need to choose between the brands and the environment that you need to work on, rather than, if one ETH organization is giving you 20 lakhs, we will pay you 30 lakhs, you just come to us. uh, because those employees will definitely not ever stay with you. They are just doing window shopping. And I think we have, from the past 2-3 months, I think we have been able to, with our placement ratio going to 50% in the past, with this crazy madness. Now it has only 10% of the offers that candidates are probably declining because of this, window shopping thing. And
Hmm.
organizations are being stringent. So what measures they are taking? One, you come up with an offer of X amount, we'll give you the same amount, not a penny less, not a penny more. You choose between a brand, the work culture, you talk to N number of people, you are reporting to a CTO, a VP, a director. Talk to him, talk about the project, talk about the technology, have N number of meetings, but then we are not going to pay you X plus 40% to make you join. And that's point one. The point two that organizations have taken as a step is, you have a 20 lakhs of offer, you already have a joining date of 1st of January. You are safe that you are joining there. I am giving you 20 lakhs, same offer, but I'm not handing you that offer in case you want a joining bonus of 1 lakh or 2 lakh on top of it. You come up on 1st of January to our organization, take the offer from us and join. It is not a scenario where you don't have a job. You still have an offer, right? You have resigned from a current organization. Your joining date is on 1st of January to another organization. But still, if you feel that my organization is a better work culture, I'm not giving you an offer letter. Come on 31st of December, they'll give you the offer and then you join, because my offer, you don't use it for window shopping to the entire world and show that you have a brand name offer and then I need 40%, because there are and I'll not say people are actually poaching candidates, but it is their from an organization point of view, it is their helplessness, because they have not grown to a certain level with security companies, IT security companies coming in and startups coming in, wherein they can just tell the candidate that I am a brand name, come leave Microsoft or leave any brand name and come and join us. So they
Yeah.
have to pay a certain extra, but they have also started showcasing them that this is the technology that you wanted to work on, this is the scratch work I am handing you to build up an app. So what so are you interested in just a penny of money, or are you interested in what work and what environment you will be building it? And I think it's helping, and it's a matter of fact of another quarter maximum that things will stream down as it was earlier.
Right. Right, Jamal. Thank you so much. Probably we are overshoot of 5 minutes, since we all know this is very interesting and the current topic going on, and we had very good discussion on this. Unfortunately, we were also not able to take all the questions. I tried to cover it all, but I think this is the wrap. We'll take it up. But thank you everyone for participating, and it was a really great discussion that we had. And I hope the audience will also take away good points, what all we have discussed today. Thank you, everyone.